A recipient of Nari Shakti Puraskar, Professor Binisha has worked closely with global agencies such as World Bank and UN bodies and has played a key role in formalizing the informal e-waste recyclers across India. Please welcome Professor Binisha P.
Good evening, everyone. May I request all of you to be seated, please? I know the whole day you have been sitting and also being taxed with a lot of information, but I promise we will keep this session really lively, and we also have for the valedictory a very, very key personality who is going to be the main strategist for the entire critical minerals research and funding for the country from the Niti Aayog, which is the apex body. So he will be arriving very soon. Yeah, I think he is he's already here. So may I welcome Shri Dr. Abhay Karandikar ji. He is the chief guest of our valedictory session. May I request all of you to be seated, please? May I request people who are just standing in the end, please come in. It's a privilege for me to welcome Abhay ji here in the stage. I've known him for quite some time now. He is the member of Niti Aayog, which he has taken up very recently. He is a distinguished academic and technology leader who has previously served as director of IIT Kanpur and held several leadership positions at IIT Bombay. But I really know him more not as an academician, but as a very able administrator and a strategist. I have actually witnessed several of his very key interventions, which has actually brought in a lot of change, especially in innovations in the country. And the RDI funds is one of them, where he has spent so much of time, and I know how much he has worked on it. And today, all of us are also having the benefit of this kind of the strategy of how to use this fund. His expertise has also been in the telecommunications, 5G, 6G technologies, science and technology policy, innovation, and research ecosystems. He has played a pivotal role in advancing national initiatives such as the National Quantum Mission and ANRF, and is a fellow of both the science and also the engineering side, that is in the Indian National Science Academy and also the Indian National Academy of Engineering. So may I welcome Sir, please occupy the stage. May I also request the other panel members, Mr. Vikrant Singh from Batex Engineers Private Limited. He focuses on lithium-ion battery recycling and critical minerals recovery with expertise in battery technologies and mechanical engineering. He leads the development of advanced recycling and material recovery solutions that support India's circular economy and clean energy transition. Recognized for his contributions to sustainable innovation, he was featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia 2023 list. Mr. Vikrant. Yeah. Next, may I request Mr. R. Ravindran, VP Technology, Bridge Green Upcycle Private Limited. He's a seasoned technology leader with over 30 years of experience in renewable energy, battery technology, and sustainable industrial development. He is also a committee member at the Bureau of Indian Standards for battery storage and actively contributes to policy development, EV adoption, and sustainable manufacturing initiatives. Next, may I request Mr. Chetan Jain, Senior VP Business Development, Loham Cleantech Private Limited. He leads the strategic partnerships and business initiatives across the critical minerals, clean energy, and circular economy sectors, with over 15 years of experience scaling businesses across mobility, education, and sustainability-focused industries. He has played key roles in building and growing high-impact ventures, including Rev and Lead School. He is an alumni of IIT Kanpur and ISB Hyderabad. May I also request Mr. Shamasis Das. He's a research fellow of Energy, Natural Resources and Sustainability. It is called the CSEP. He has over 16 years of experience in policy research. His work focuses on the intersections of climate, energy, electric mobility, batteries, and sustainability. He currently leads research on electric mobility and battery circularity and has previously supported organizations such as the World Bank and WRI India on EV and battery related initiatives. Thank you. So to set the context, this session is called Waste to Strategic Resources in Critical Minerals. So I have just 3 slides. This is just a food for thought. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah. So we know that India has actually recognized 33 critical minerals. You've heard about it since morning. However, we have 23 of them we have to totally import from other countries. Now, that's also known since morning we've been talking about it. The National Critical Mineral Mission, the NCMM, is India's blueprint to secure domestic and global supply chains for critical minerals. What is important is this: 16,300 crores is the expenditure envisaged by Government of India, and an additional investment of 18,000 crore by the public sector undertakings. But what is it for the recycling sector in this mission? Out of this, only rupees 100 crore is set aside for pilot projects that look beyond traditional mines, and mainly mine tailings, waste utilization, and which also includes recycling of waste. Union Cabinet has approved another 1,500 crores incentive scheme under the NCMM to boost India's recycling sector from secondary sources such as e-waste, lithium-ion battery scrap, and end-of-life vehicles. That is what is actually meant for all of us. Now, out of this 1,500 crores, how much of it is actually being utilized, and how many of you can actually utilize it? And to know more about it, definitely we have Abhijji who will throw some light on that. And how do we leverage this? So out of the 16,300, 1,500 odd is what is there for us. Now, by fostering both new and existing recyclers, what kind of deliverables is the government expecting from the recyclers? Now, that's very interesting because 270 kilotons annual recycling capacity is what we have to achieve by 2030. That's the Viksit Bharat target. And produce 40 kiloton of critical minerals. Now, how much are we doing currently? We really need to discuss on that. And it should also attract around 8,000 crore in investment to create 70,000 jobs. If our recycling sector has to really scale up, this is the target for us. The second aspect, the minds of innovation, because that is why we are all here. What is the kind of research and innovation that we are expecting? The NCMM again targets 1,000 patents by 2030. This is very, very important. And with the creation of 7 centers of excellence to drive breakthroughs in exploration and extractions. We know that there are 4 IITs. I've visited all of them and I've seen the kind of work which is also being done. 3 of them are here, the COEs. And as of June 2025, 62 patents, so we have target is 1,000. Out of that, 62 patents were filed in India within the critical mineral ecosystem. But how many of these patents are in the recycling sector? We don't have much information on that. Currently, the minerals being researched in India are lithium, nickel, titanium, tungsten, vanadium, ytterbium, and tantalum. Out of that, the last 2 are mainly used in the defense applications. Funding for the centers, expects industry collaboration. This is again very, very important. We did have discussions about in the last session. So it means that for ANRF funding, upfront the industry have to give in cash, not kind, and venture capital support also is expected. Now, how much of that? I do know several venture capitalists who have also gotten, but not in this forum, not in the COE and the NCMM side, but there are such investors who are funding some industries. I would like to actually give one example of the same, just to draw a parallel, because I was in Japan last month, and when I was there, China banned, just the previous day, China banned exports of 20 critical minerals to Japan. This was in February 2026. The same day, what the government did. I will also bring you another anecdote, that is Japan's Panasonic R&D project of 2012. They had something to do with the neodymium, which is very, very important. This is one of the mineral which every one of us are using. It's not just from the electronic gadgets, but also many of you who are wearing your specs, even you have neodymium there. So, we have not even thought of actually recycling all that. So you name the substance that you are using at home has neodymium. And we in India cannot extract it because we don't have the mines for it. So indium is another one, and all this are with China. So now this story of the China banning Japanese, the 20 minerals, what happened was, this was the newspaper article, and it's about rare earth, and the reason they gave was the dual purpose is what they are using it for. So defense they don't want to support. That was the reason. But the same day, evening newspapers actually came out with this news. That is, the government has increased its funding. They have given subsidies for recycling of neodymium. That fast is how they react. And what do they fund? It is not, and this funding, they have also come out with strategies. I'm sure Abhayji has also done a similar thing with RDI funds and all that, and for ANRF, how this academia industry collaboration can take place. So here the example was that they have also not just looked at the research in extraction of minerals, but they have given equal weightage also for climate studies to build data for providing nationally determined contributions from the critical mineral extraction. They have also given the funds to particular companies which have been in the electronic industries. And another interesting thing is this funding is not limited only to research activities from the labs, but they have also given funds for extraction efficiency, raw material grades equivalent for the requirements of the electronic industry, the logistics, marketing. So they have looked at the entire value chain. That is how the funding is usually given. So this was just an example, and I leave it there because I know we have a lot of questions which we can ask. This is just to set a context so that we have this in our mind when we are talking about how we can help in building this kind of a resource constraint which our country has. Thank you so much. Now, may I request for a presentation from Mr. Shamasis Das, because they have done a research because he is not from the industry side, so they are a think tank, and they have done some research on the battery ecosystem in our country. So a few key findings from it can also be another context setting. So may I request? Mr. Das, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, you can do it from here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, MRI, for having me here. And as you can see from the very first slide, we are seeing the exponential growth in the electric vehicle population in the country. Why this is important? Because in the next 2 decades at least, electric vehicles will provide the waste battery stream for recycling in the country. Currently, yes, there is e-waste, and also, battery and this stationary storage is also coming up. But in the next 2 decades, based on the trajectory we have in EV uptake, definitely this stream will be the dominant share. We are a not-for-profit policy think tank based in Delhi. I lead the electric mobility and energy transition research practice here. So what is the premise? I think everyone knows that towards net zero goal, vehicle electrification is one of the major pillars, and each of these vehicles will be powered by batteries. Many of them will be by lithium-ion batteries. And on one hand, that actually creates a waste management challenge because these batteries are having limited life cycle, but it also gives an opportunity. I want to blabber more on this because we already know. So what is the research question we are addressing? So we have done the study. I think in the next 1 month, the report will be coming out. So we are trying to understand what is the potential recycling opportunity from the EV batteries in India. And to that end, we try to share insights on what the country can gain from the end-of-life EV battery recycling, and what infrastructure and investment would be required to tap this opportunity. Because that is important, because often we talk about the kilotons and the billion-dollar opportunity, but then what it would take to capture that opportunity, and so what is missing. Again, this study is a projection till 2041. Why 2041? Because we feel that it is more reasonable to project till that time and not beyond, because this ecosystem is also evolving very fast. We don't want to do a very academic kind of research which doesn't have much value. I should say that these batteries are from the fixed EVs and not from the swappable batteries, because there is not enough data to talk about how many batteries are in circulation in the battery swapping space. Also, it doesn't cover the storage and the electric appliances. USP of the research is it takes a very segment-wise approach. It doesn't take a very overall sectoral thing, because segment gives you the insight about the battery life, the battery chemistry, and repurposing opportunity, which will impact your recycling potential. Without further delay, again, we know that hydrometallurgy is currently the dominant recycling technique, although direct recycling is also a potential candidate, but it is a very novel one, not matured enough. This is kind of the policy landscape, BWMR. I would like to only mention that this EPR thing, extended producer responsibility, is the heart of BWMR as far as recycling is concerned. And also we have this critical mineral recycling scheme. The battery Aadhaar guidelines is also out, the draft, and hopefully in this year we will have the notified version. So what is hydrometallurgy? Again, in very quick way, there is a pre-processing part, which is more like the mechanical operation where it involves shredding, dismantling, and those kind of things. And then it produces the black mass kind of thing, which is the intermediate product. And then the chemical process actually begins, which leads to the extraction of the minerals of interest, which I call. These minerals essentially are the salts. On the right, you will see this table. These are like as per the global benchmarks. And we are considering these values to understand the potential recycling opportunity. So we have followed the 10 steps. So it is more multidimensional, starting with what is the actual sales which has happened till now. And we have also done the EV projection because ultimately these batteries will come into circulation based on EV uptake. So understanding that is very important. And then what kind of capacity they are bringing means the kilowatt hour, because that is important because each segment will have different battery capacities. The two-wheeler battery and the bus battery are very different, right? So understanding the segment is very important. Then the chemistry also. We have noticed that even in each segment, the chemistry varies. In larger batteries, we see higher incidence of LFP batteries. In smaller batteries, we see more NMC because of the energy density thing. And that is very important to understand the recycling opportunity. Then it also defines the mobility life, because the mobility life also varies from one segment to another, and that will determine when these batteries will be available for recycling. Then based on energy density, you get the battery mass available, and then you get the mineral recovery opportunity till 4041. And from there, we can derive the economic value, and we have derived the investment opportunity. I'm just going fast. So this is the first insight. As we can see, so we have considered five-year kind of band, although we have every year's projection, because it gives, I think, better clarity about the opportunity. As we can see, that the actual opportunity is arising towards the end of the next decade, actually. So the immediate opportunity could be limited, but in a very short span of time, it suddenly spikes. And that, to me, is quite tricky. The other insight I would like to draw your attention is, here, as you can see from the graph, copper offers the greatest recycling opportunity. So it is not really lithium, nickel, or the cobalt, but the copper in terms of quantity, actually, on the basis of quantity. However, when it comes to the economic value, it is actually the lithium which has the larger share. So it has a disproportionately larger share of economic value. That means the economics will be influenced by mineral-specific value and not really the quantity only. And again, you can see that the value goes up towards the end of the next decade. This actually we added later, considering the current oil crisis. So what if, this is more like a what if, because of this current oil shock, we see 100% EV penetration, at least in certain segments where we are already seeing some traction, like in the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segments, which is possible towards the end of next decade. Maybe we see 100% EV penetration. And if that happens, then we can actually achieve 281 kilotons of recycling opportunity extra. This is additional. And the line diagram which you see, that is also the additional economic value the country can tap in a 100% EV penetration scenario, limited to two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So this is not really a very academic kind of thing. We have not considered other vehicle segments, actually. Then how much it can actually feed in terms of the manufacturing, because that is important, how much it can complement the primary supply. And as you can see on the graph, that it varies from minerals to minerals. As far as your lithium is concerned, actually, you can see that it goes up to 12% in the later half, actually, from FY32 to FY36, because more number of batteries will come for circulation, for recycling towards the later half of the decade and not immediate, actually. So this is something important to consider. Also, this is the missing part. When we talk about recycling, often we ignored this phosphorus and graphite. I'm not saying nobody is recycling, but it is a very kind of a niche segment currently. And that to me is a potential opportunity to grab, particularly your phosphorus and graphite. And why people are not interested to recycle currently? Because of the unattractive resale value. So that becomes a kind of a determining factor. Then what is the capacity which is required to capture this potential? I don't know whether I can point it. So you can see, so the first bar is as per the announced capacity. This is kind of mentioned in the Niti Aayog report, which talks about that current announced capacity is 80 kilotons, okay? And if we see the kind of potential, we require 122 kilotons minimum, actually. And if we see the current incentive scheme, the target is 270 kilotons. But thankfully, I heard today morning that the pledged capacity is around 357. It's higher than 270, but we have to see how much it will translate. But in terms of requirement, you can see that towards the end of the decade, we require, just for EV batteries, 2,520 kilotons of capacity for recycling. That's a big one, actually.
Shamasis?
Yeah.
I think we have to.
Yes. And this is kind of the CapEx requirement. This is kind of, you can say, proportionate. So that is a big CapEx requirement we have. So these are like 5 interventions. I want to really go into the details. The report will definitely talk about that in further details. And if you have any suggestion, questions, please write to me. Thank you. I hope I have tried to limit it.
Thanks.
Okay. I can take questions later then?
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
In the panel. So with that context, let's open this, the discussions from the panelists. The first question which I would like to ask is Mr. Vikrant Singh. You are the co-founder of CTO, Batex Energies Private Limited. Now, 7 years since the company was started, so you're, okay, 6 years. So this is a startup, but the main achievement is that you have reached Forbes 30 within the 6 years period. So what is your USP? And if you can share that, I'm sure many of them will also would like to have a startup. And that too in the recycling sector. So that's again an important thing.
So I believe that more than the designation or awards, it's been working close to 6 years. We don't know what awards we got or how we reached over there. We just focused on the results, or even not the results, about the process. I'm a mechanical engineer starting from college, and I think my first company was Loham. When I was in college, my 4th year, I was in the 4th year and joined Loham, and after Loham I started this company. And I was now having not much idea, but in the college I worked a little bit of this background. I was mechanical engineering, building the cars. And this idea came that when we were building the car, there was an electric battery which need to be installed into the battery, and you need to participate in Germany. So we were participating in an event in Germany where you have to build a Formula 1 car. And for that, we were needing a battery when I was in 3rd year of my college. And from that, we started getting understanding that who can manufacture the battery in the country. And after some time, our whole team said that in the college that no one is there who can build this battery. You have to go to Korea or China. And that was the point when we thought about, leave about the car, focus in the battery. That is where you can do something. And in the college, actually, we set up one cell manufacturing laboratory in my 4th year of the college. And we were having a very good laboratory, around 200 crores of investment, where you have all kinds of resources to build the cell. And we actually built the cell in the college, fabricated the NMC 18650 cell and a coin cell in the college. And then after that, we tried to do some business, and we realized that this business we cannot do. Rather, because we don't have a lithium, nickel, and cobalt, and even the cathode active materials which is being needed. And at that particular time, even we were not having the components. So entire thing was imported from China. I mean, just we did the process-oriented thing in that particular time. And then we realized that what we can do with the recycling, how we can get the material, and that's where the entire journey started. Because you can take 5 kilos of battery from the Kabadiwalas and you can start your research. And you can get some beakers, some kind of small, arrangement, because you don't need much investment to do the research. Definitely you need much understanding, studying, or some kind of knowledge, which you can gather by reading the research papers and that is where we started our journey in 2020 along with my partner Utkarsh. He is also my college mate. And we actually built first black mass plant in Sikandrabad, in Uttar Pradesh. And it was built by us. We have not, because we were not having, in 40 lakhs, we built the black mass plant and we did a revenue of 20 crores in the year one. And just by, studying of the batteries. At that particular time, the good part was that this business was mostly on the exports. We were getting the understanding about global that, okay, in Korea, someone is coming to see your factory. Even the factory was not good. Someone is coming from China to see your factory. And that led us understanding that there's something, which is being there in the world's people are coming here and seeing your operation and they are very interested in these materials. And then I thought that what they do with the black mass in 2021. We started again back to college, we incubated in IIT Delhi. And at that particular time, Ministry of Heavy Industries, they come with some grant money. We got some close to $500,000 of grant at that particular time. And we supported, with that fund, we did an entire research and we made a technology. And after that, I visited China for close to 2 months. I have visited their factories and seen that what they do with the material which they are taking from our country, and that we have seen that they're extracting materials in a very, very scalable manner. And that is where we thought that let's build our own machineries. Then we have hired some college freshers, some kind of experienced people, close to 20 people team. And after that, we built our own hydrometallurgy of 2,000 tons processing capability. Today, we are extracting materials which is 99.95% of purity. Yes, we are exporting those minerals because we don't have consumption in our country. So it's kind of a journey which just happened because we are more focused about the research work. We were more about how we can extract the materials, how we can scale it up, where the process engineering can be found. So it is all about curiosity towards building a scalable factory. And that is where I think we are just we have just covered a small story, and maybe our target is to build.
So what kind of critical minerals, other than lithium, what other?
We produce lithium carbonate, cobalt sulfate, cobalt metal, nickel carbonate, and manganese sulfate solution. Okay. These are some materials which we are.
And you're able to market this within India?
No, we are today, some parts, 20% of that material we are giving to India. Because if you see today's market, India is not able to offer that pricing. What you can get into the overseas countries, that is one of the problem which we are facing. Even the purity which you are extracting, there is a very small market where you can give those materials in our country, especially into the specialty chemicals. All material we are exporting because that is our, there is no choice in today's date.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll go to Mr. Ravindran. He is the VP from a company which is also started newly, and that's also a battery recycling. Your company has 7,200 metric tons per annum circularity center. So you have 2 units in Chennai, right? Yeah.
Thanks to Material Recycling Association of India to organize such an event to bring people together across India and other countries as well. So we, Bridge Green Upcycle is a US-based company. We are set up in Chennai and also at US at New York as well. And we are expanding very aggressively in down south in Chennai. First we have set up our head office out here in Chennai in the city. Then going forward, we have set up a 7,200 metric ton of shredding facility that is also in Chennai, which is about 46 kilometers away at Gumadipundi, because it demanded the red zone approvals and all this. And also we have made another smaller plant for second life application where we take AI tool, which is one of the best tool in the globally, and it was also approved by Benz as out of 800 AI tools as one of the best tool, 30, which was shortlisted by Mercedes-Benz. And this tool can figure out the battery's behavior of cycle time availability versus it is going for shredding within 2 minutes of time. Usually it normally takes about 3 to 4 hours in a cycler to figure out. So as the volume...
So you also make black mass?
Yeah, we make black mass. Of course, black mass is one of the product. And shredding batteries will be 7,200 tons, where 3,600 tons will be the black mass. Apart from that, it will be, there are other parts like copper, aluminum, and steel and plastics will be the other, which will be the recovered parts.
But you are exporting or you are...
No, presently black mass, of course, the plant is newly set up. Of course, we have Indian partners where we have tied up for sale. And they have the other refinery facilities to go into lithium carbonate, cobalt sulfate, nickel sulfate, and all that they recover. And our R&D is on the progress now. We are in the tier level 6 on the recovery of lithium carbonate, cobalt sulfate, nickel sulfate, and manganese sulfate. So we are also soon starting the hydrometallurgy facility in India.
Okay, so you have some relationship with the US and the Europe.
Yeah.
That's for marketing or how is it?
US is basically, our intention was to set up a bigger plant in New York, but due to regulations, we are just moving to Atlanta. We are setting up a plant there, similarly a black mass plant as well as a hydrometallurgy facility plant. However, the rate at which Indian employees were really pushing it forward was very high.
So since it's polluting in US and Europe, you have set up the plant in India? Or
No, we have the red zones we have the red zone availability in US as well, but only thing is the environmental regulations takes maybe instead of 2 years time here, it will go for about 3 years to get it approved. Till the time, of course, the research is also going on. There are our CTO sits in US only. They are all working from New York, and we have in Binghamton University, they have given us about 5,000 square feet area for this research and development.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ease of business in India is better than in US and Europe? That's what you are...
Yeah,
looking
at the business angle, having last week I was in Frankfurt to understand what is the global recycling community discussing and what was happening in that 17th and 18th. There was a meet. I could easily judge that US or Europe, for instance, will not be the bigger scaling market, which cannot happen honestly because of the manpower possibility. And also the biggest challenge is for example, from France to move to Germany, there is regulations of batteries to come, which takes about 6 months to get an approval to move. And moreover, again, they have the scalability or approval issues, which takes about 4 years to set up environmental approvals. So that is not an easy thing to immediately set up something to scale up, because again, the cost of the labor cost is also high, research cost is also high. These are all clearly a message that, of course, EV penetration is very high also. Tesla is the highly sold car in the US. So everybody has EV cars, and they do need to do a recycling. I don't see immediately there will be a chance that they can have a full setup done. So for looking at China, for example, one simple CATL is the largest company, a battery manufacturing company, which makes 175,000 megawatt of batteries. And in India, we are now starting with 5 megawatt with Ola, LFP chemistry batteries. Exide is started up. Of course, Amar Raja started up, but they're all in a smaller scale. And looking at the scale of CATL, their subsidiary company or a sister company, which is the recycling company, is Brent, which is doing a $3 billion turnover. And the volume of batteries they manufacture is about 3,000 batteries per second. And 10% after the almost 12 years of experience, still CATL makes 10% of scraps from the manufacturing scrap. We are only talking about the two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, and also the
So the scope of recycling batteries is very high in India.
Yeah,
that's
high in India, and the opportunities has to be looked in the perspective of what is the chemistry what we are going to work, because there is different chemistries available. Hardly it is NMC chemistry or LFP chemistry, what kind of hydrometallurgy plant, what kind of technology we are going to put in, everything has to be well defined before investments. So if not, it's going to not be the right investment they would have done. So that's where I think the NCMM grant, everything is helping India to take it forward. I really want to thank the whole India to come and shape up this industry like what China is doing. Today there are 3,000 recyclers in China. So that will be the state, Sir was, Agnihotri sir was also mentioning close to about 1,000 companies can be expected in another 10 years time. Yeah.
Okay. So you will be able to meet the target what India needs in 2030.
To some extent we are hoping that whatever agreed, like 58 companies have been sanctioned for hydrometallurgy grant, and all the 58 we want to wish everybody to achieve that in 18 months time is going to be still challenging. So, but everybody are working for it. We will hope.
So currently, what is your production rate?
Yeah, production rate is, as I said, we are in July only we are starting our black mass plant. It has been commissioned, tested, everything is fine. And the lab scale level is in very much in like 50 metric ton per annum will be the capacity of the extraction.
Right. Now let me go to Loham, which is a very well-established industry. So can recycling actually fill the gap of critical mineral demand in the country? Because we heard from the other two, so I would like to ask you because you are there in the field for quite some time now.
No, so Benisha ji, I think that's an interesting question, and I think the answer was quite hidden in the presentation that Shamadas ji just gave. So is recycling the answer to India's critical mineral requirement today? The answer is definite no. The way the market penetration of EVs is increasing, last year four-wheeler we had roughly 1.5 to 2% market penetration. This year we are looking at somewhere close to 6% penetration to start with, and with all these disruptions coming out in the market, that is continuously increasing. But does that mean that we should not look at recycling? Recycling is a long-term play where the guardrails are to be established today. These are not things which we can leave for later point in time. We have seen market shaping up in e-waste industry where a lot of material flows to the informal sector. Fortunately, with battery waste management rules coming into the picture in 2022, things for mobility sector, ESS have been more or less formalized. Producers themselves are taking care where their material is flowing. With battery Aadhaar now coming into the picture, where of course the guidelines are out there, the notification is yet to come out. But if that also comes into the picture, the complete traceability of the ecosystem gets established. In terms of targets, we are looking at somewhere close to 200 gigawatt hour of battery deployment by 2030. I don't think more than 10-15% of that requirement will be met by recycling at this point in time. This is a long-term play where we are looking at somewhere close to 30-35% feedstock fulfillment, somewhere in 2030s, 2035, 2040. But there again, the biggest gap is midstream capacity. So we have black mass production. Some of the players like us are doing hydrometallurgy, but there is no one who is doing pre-CAM and CAM manufacturing, at least at this point in time, at a scale. There are PLIs which are out there for cell manufacturing, but there is no PLI which is there for cathode active material. So the midstream value chain has to be solved for. Otherwise, what we are doing is we are doing some value addition in terms of recycling in India, but critical material which we are processing at this point in time is going out of India. We have paid money to bring it in India. Now we are not able to keep it in India. That's the biggest problem that we need to solve for.
Okay. So what kind of research activities, because I know that there are many in-plant research which you have been doing. And where does it stand? How many different types of critical minerals you've been able to, I mean, what kind of efficiency also, because it's not just extraction. So.
Sure. So we started out as a battery recycling company, but over a period of time, we have diversified into other category of materials. We have now started doing precious materials where the plant is up and running in Hyderabad, where we are doing platinum, palladium. We have MREO line, which is mixed rare earth oxide. So you talked about neodymium. So that plant at scale is going to come only in 2027. To your question in terms of your R&D, so the way to look at R&D, that's the way I think world also looks at, and that's the way we also look at the fundamental research, which is your technology readiness level 2 to 4. That is something which is best done by academia. There are a lot of institutes which are doing it at scale, which are doing it quite well. Industry focus, at least our focus, is from 7 to 9. The gap, which is the death valley, is somewhere between 4 to 7. This is where I think Center of Excellence needs to come in and bridge this gap. So we have policy in place, but the proof of the pudding in is eating it, right? So how the implementation happens is going to decide how well all three clusters, academia, COEs, and industry come together and help solve this problem at scale. So fundamental research is not an issue, scale up is not an issue, but that's the pilot intermediate step where the focus has to be, because industries are investing very limited amount of money. Academia has their own targets in terms of papers and the kind of research that they are doing. So that's the bridge that we need to cross so that we are able to scale things up.
Sure. Thank you. And my next question is to Shamashish. So you've actually given this presentation. One question which I would like to ask you is, what are the prerequisites for achieving the battery recycling potential in India?
Yeah, thank you. First, we have to recognize that battery recycling is like any other process manufacturing industry. So that means there's a feedstock requirement, there's a processing, and then there should be a market for that product. So feedstock here is the end-of-life batteries, right? And this flow of end-of-life batteries will evolve over the time. So currently, batteries, waste batteries in electronic appliances, they provide the main source of the batteries which the recyclers are getting. But as my presentation says, that in the next 2 decades, EV batteries will comprise the largest share, and that will actually kind of quadruple. But post 2040, your stationary energy storage, because we will having battery energy storage, a lot of tenders are coming out, and they will be then start feeding the end-of-life batteries post 2040. So feedstock will evolve. So that is a prerequisite, which is availability of feedstock. The second precondition or prerequisite is availability, or you can say the infrastructure should be in a running condition. That means the recycling facilities or the processing facilities should be ready by the time we have this huge volume of end-of-life batteries. Because what will happen, these waste batteries will come, but the industry will not be prepared. And this is a chemical process, and it takes time to stabilize actually. And we need to produce industry-grade recycled minerals, because ultimately there has to be a market for that. So the third prerequisite is the stable demand for these recycled minerals. And that will depend on the grade, the purity of the recycled minerals, and the cost economics. Because in a way, there will be this primary source, and this is a secondary source. Secondary source can only complement, but on pricing, they have to actually bid also. So that will be, I think, the third prerequisite in my view.
Okay. And any challenges that you
Yes,
see?
so in line with the prerequisites, there are two
Especially
major challenges.
logistics, we had
Yes.
previous sessions which...
Absolutely. So we were talking about the informal sector, right? So how these recyclers can get access to the end-of-life batteries, that will be the key challenge. Because as we understand, the informal or the unorganized sector, they dominate the market, right? So we need mechanisms that can actually enable the EV customers or the customers which are having the batteries to give the battery, the end-of-life batteries to the recyclers, kind of. So in my view, take back or give back kind of mechanisms, if OEMs and recyclers can offer to the customers, that will incentivize the EV users or any battery users to give back the batteries, because that will be a very formal way of getting. The second precondition is, or I would say that can solve, is the, I would say, what is the demand there? So the minimum content requirement in the new batteries, that will be very important, because otherwise there will not be any market for the secondary minerals. And BWMR thankfully has that provision, but I think it has to be more ambitious. It starts with 5% requirement and then gradually rises to 20%, but we have to see how it can be increased actually. So that to me would be a major requirement actually.
That would be a policy requirement
Yes.
from your side.
And the other challenge would be the evolving chemistry. Because as we see, the battery chemistry is evolving very fast. And there is a propensity that new batteries are reducing the content of expensive or the precious minerals, the critical minerals, because of the cost economics, right? And that has actually an opposing impact on recycling, because the value of recycling actually goes down if the content, if the embedded minerals, those precious minerals, they come down actually. So that to me is going to be the second major challenge.
Thank you. May I request all of you to actually look at the QR code? Can you? Yeah, and reserve your questions. Actually, you can scan this and add your questions, or at least write it down so that we can ask the, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. But before that, may I request, sir, if you could give the valedictory address? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure I think all of you have discussed various aspects of material recycling the whole day. And I don't have anything more to add to the wisdom of all of you. But I just wanted to pick up from the point that you asked this question whether material recycling is an answer to the critical minerals of the country. I think there are many challenges. There are economic challenges, in terms of costs. There are challenges in terms of collecting the materials and the feedstocks. You need to have, even though, supposedly we have a large waste, but the key thing is having a very robust collection systems and making it available, a sufficient feedstock for a recycling plant in a very sustainable and a continuous fashion. So I think that is really one of the challenge. There are, of course, technical and process challenges. As just now it was mentioned that material recycling is essentially a process manufacturing plant. And these process challenges come from complexity of product, because critical minerals are dispersed in very, very low concentrations with very complex, and there are devices which are mixed materials. And therefore, the separation and purification process in some cases could be highly involved to get the maximum thing. And finally, I think the process also could be material specific, so it cannot be sometimes, the same process that would work for all. Then there are, of course, infrastructure deficits itself, and therefore recycling cannot fully replace, the minerals mining, if that is what you meant. But clearly, this is an important process. This is an important area from the environmental perspective also. So it is not just an issue of, getting the materials and minerals, but I think it is an important, sustainable economy and environmental issue. So in that context, it is an important industry, it is an important area, and therefore, from that point of view, it does require some policy incentives from the Government of India side in order to contribute to a sustainable development goals or a sustainable economy. Now, this is going to expand further, because as we are having the rapid expansion of AI infrastructures or data centers or electric mobility and advanced computing systems, this is actually going to become even more critical. And of course, the material recycling could become an important element for making available the critical minerals, where obviously, as you know, that India critically depends on imports for almost all important critical minerals. And therefore, it is important that this is viewed also as an important economic manufacturing industry, apart from, as I mentioned, contributing to the economic activity as well. Now, critical mineral recycling requires a substantial R&D support, as well as was also, I saw that it was a topic of discussion, and some panelists here also mentioned about hydrometallurgical process. And also, the direct battery recycling technologies are also becoming now emerging, which are as the promising approaches. Then rare earth recovery technology, for example, magnet-to-magnet recycling is also becoming an important emerging approaches. And all of them, of course, requires substantial investment, as was mentioned, from TRL 4 to TRL 7 kind of an R&D, because there are evidences and substantial evidences of academic research and R&D for all these advanced processes. But in order to really bring them to a commercial scale, you need to bridge that gap. And with that experience, and this is not true just in this area, but in many other areas. And therefore, as Vinisha mentioned in my introduction, that we had operationalized in the Department of Science and Technology the 1 lakh crore Research Development and Innovation Fund, precisely with that objective to bridge the TRL 4 to 7 gaps. And that fund is also meant for investing in private sector R&D, both in corporates and the deep tech startups. So I would really urge here the industry and the startups to leverage that fund to take the academic research from the TRL level 3 or 4 to a stage where, it can be commercialized at scale. And of course, globally, things are also expanding significantly. It was mentioned that there has been a significant investment by the China. In fact, China has built a complete integrated ecosystems where they have set up a very robust collection systems, refining, manufacturing, and also thereby enabling the recovered materials to flow directly back into the value chain of the industry. And that is the making this complete robust circular recycling system is actually more important than just setting up a recycling plant. And many of the panelists actually alluded to those challenges that they are facing in terms of the businesses that can be obtained in India, and which is actually ironical because we do have the problems, yet we don't have the business. And therefore, really the issue lies in terms of the challenges which have nothing to do with the availability of the waste materials or the availability of the expertise, but making available a sufficient feedstock in a fashion which is robust and continuous and sustainable. And finally, whatever is the material that is getting recovered, feeding back into the industry value chain. So I think those are the two big gaps which will actually make the entire loop closed. Therefore, this sector, I believe, is at a very inflection point in India, and therefore offers significant opportunity. And I would believe that if we address the challenges in terms of fragmented collections, technology maturity, and finally appropriate incentives, either from the state government or from the central government, then perhaps it can become a very, very attractive opportunity. As I mentioned that access to long-term capital for recycling projects, now it is happening. 1 lakh crore RDI fund will be available at a long-term, low interest and long tenor debt. And if there are startups, there can be also equity investment. And because the private sector participation was somewhat constrained by the technology risk and uncertain feedstock availability and also the evolving market structures, perhaps these risks can be mitigated by the risk funds like RDI. Finally, I should say that the critical minerals recycling ecosystem spans multiple ministries. It is not just the Ministry of Mines, and several research institutions and multiple participants from the markets. And this indeed requires a very high degree of coordination for it to become a very thriving profit-wise economic systems. And therefore, I think it is important that we address this issue of waste to strategic resources as an important gap, so that not only we are contributing to the environmental issues, but also are able to create a system where at least, some part of the critical minerals for some strategic purposes, we are able to recover from our waste. So, that opportunity definitely exists. The National Critical Mineral Mission was also talked about, and indeed, that reflects a recognition that long-term resource security requires a comprehensive approach spanning the exploration, processing, recycling, technology development, etc. And though it does envisage an overall investment framework, but I think I would urge the private sectors to leverage the other opportunities of the funding which have been offered by the government in the recent sort of months. So I should say that we need an integrated approach which will include the availability of a robust feedstock systems, aggregation, dismantling, and after we have recovered the materials, then feeding back into the industry value chain. And this does require interministerial coordinated approach for creating a very cohesive industry ecosystems. And this will actually enable the circular economy frameworks also. And finally, as I mentioned, that will foster the innovations, entrepreneurship, and the scale up of the industry. So I'm quite hopeful and confident because historically, actually, the nations, of course, compete for the access to resources, and increasingly they will compete for access to critical minerals also. And the future of the critical minerals will be determined partly, by the recycling opportunity that offers, and therefore, of course, the mines of the future will be both geological and also as well as the urban recycling industry. What is really needed is an integrated framework which can be achieved with coordination from stakeholders, which includes all of you as well as the government. And given the present government's intent to work with the industry, with the startups and the private sectors, I can tell you that that positive approach of the government to work with the industry has been significant in the recent times than ever before. And therefore, this really gives us an opportunity to evolve a very integrated, coordinated approach for realizing the potentials of, as this panel is titled, from waste to strategic resources scaling the India's critical mineral recycling industry. So thank you very much and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, and thank you very much for actually hitting the nail on one of the major policy gap which MRAI and since morning everybody has been talking about, and that is all the recycling sectors are in different ministries, and we would definitely like to have at least a desk like what our president in the morning mentioned in his inaugural address, so that it can all be congregated and we will have a single window. So maybe as a Niti Aayog member, you could really influence, because you also brought out the same issue. So we'll definitely come to you. Thank you so much. And we can maybe have just one or two questions, quick, a very pressing question, if any one of you have. If not, yeah, I think, yeah, it's the end of the day. So I'm sure all of you are exhausted because we have been sitting here from 9 o'clock. So thank you so much. And we really had a nice session here summing up, but on a very positive note that there is definitely a large scope for critical minerals in our country, and especially for the recycling sector. Thank you. May I now request some honors to be done? So Abhijit, if you could actually give away the mementos to our panelists. Come. Yeah. So, okay. So first of all, we would like to, may I request Sanjay Mehta ji, our president, to honor the chief guest of the Valediictory program, Dr. Abhay Karandikar ji. If you can actually, yeah.
Can everyone join us for a group photograph? Thank you so much everyone for this very insightful and amazing day. Tea is being served now, so I request everyone to kindly have their snacks and tea and network a little bit before going home. Thank you so much.